Welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Yolanda M. Smith, the Branthropist. Let me finish that, the Branthropist.
Oh my God, you did so good.
I'm getting good at that.
I know. I'm really liking you these
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Thank
Oh
you.
my God, thank you. Oh my God, you know what? I'm
What?
loving your energy today.
It's fire.
Yeah, we've been on fire. And it's gonna stay on fire because we got a real exciting show.
I am more excited about this particular show in general because we have a great guest on the show.
We absolutely do. We're going to bring up my brother from another mother. His name is Trey Shawn Perez, and he is here to join us today. And we're going to talk about how he has been channeling his beast mode. Welcome to the show, Trey Shawn.
How you doing?
How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you. So just to put some context around this, because y'all like your brother from another mother. See, we belong in the same community. We both go to Spectacular Academy, and that community there is like a family. And so when you meet and you have opportunity to connect with one another, the connection is so strong that we literally feel like we're family. Now, one of the things that I'm sure Trey Shawn will agree with is that when we say family, it doesn't necessarily mean your relative.
Right.
These are the people that are like-minded. They're vibing with you. They want you to be successful. They're there to support and to help you. So I'm sure you would agree with that, Trey Shawn.
Yes, for sure. It's definitely a close-knit community, to a point where you have so much tremendous support and abundance of love there. Like it is truly a family that is not your relatives, and it's just so different that the culture just definitely just helps you to grow and nurture the things that you need in your life.
Absolutely. So let's start off this way. Before I get into asking all my questions, why don't you give our viewing audience really a snapshot of, a little bit about you, who you are, where you live, to come from, and what you've been doing, and maybe, some of the challenges and obstacles that you've overcome. And when we look at challenges and obstacles, again, that doesn't mean all negative, right? A challenge can be just a stepping stone to how you achieve something and these sorts of things. So why don't you just share that with our audience?
Okay, so I'm actually originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm now actually living in Palm Coast, Florida now. So I'm a big traveler. I traveled a lot when I was also in the military, so that has definitely made me have the spirit of wanting to just be around different cultures, being and doing different things. Some other contacts that I have, I'm actually a wellness coach, so I help others to actually lose the weight, not only off their body, but their mind as well, helping them to have better habits and just living it in their lifestyle. And it's not just like the diet culture type of thing, really learning how to really understand that this is something that, your health is your wealth, and getting yourself back and really put it into the beast mode, because we really are beings that are very powerful. So I really want to emit that same energy that I had gained from when I had lost a lot of weight. I actually was 230 pounds at one point, and now I'm down to 131. So I really have been pushing this journey of really helping a lot of people to understand that they can do it, and it only just takes one step at a time, and having that accountability, and getting all through those obstacles through life. A lot of my obstacles that I have came across with is actually being within the LGBT community. I have dealt with like a lot of discrimination, both in the military and outside of the military. I actually was serving during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. So a lot of my things, I have had to basically hide my life being who I was. So it has been a very hard journey and very detrimental in some points of my life, but it actually has made me stronger, and it is a part of my testimony. So I really help other people to understand to be themselves, no matter what society tells you to be, because I ultimately believe that God tells you who you're supposed to be. And once you find that inner voice of who you are, then just be yourself. I myself also am trans as well. I am a trans man. I have been living as a trans man for over the last 5 years. I started transitioning once I understood that this was part of my journey and my life purpose. And it has had its difficulties, but at the same time, my spirit has emerged to, a spectacular star in a sense, like literally,
Right.
it really has, from, just really just being myself and living my true authentic being that I am. So I've also dealt with like child abuse as well. A lot of things in my early life, in my childhood, I just didn't understand. And some of the things that I still have difficulties also relating to my blood family. It has been very difficult. I've basically navigated my life alone, majority of my life. So I do have like three half brothers, but even then, that journey has never full circled where I've had an actual relationship with them, and I've always had difficult relationship with my parents as well. So it's been a very lonely journey until the past like couple of years. Once I had came to the academy, that's why I'm so like involved with the family, because they really gave me the support that I needed, and the actual being able to just really be there and show me that I no longer was alone. So my journey has been very lonely. I've always called myself a lone wolf, but I'm starting to learn how to be a part of a pack, and really, just full surface to help others to get through the same difficulties that they may have had similar things in their life as being obstacles.
So I would just say right now, if you're watching this, please, please like, share, and comment, because he's not alone, and we know you're not alone. There's a
Right.
lot of people out there that are challenged. You know what? I don't know that there's any of us that haven't gone through some level of adversity, trauma, challenges in life. If you have, please stand up and call the show, because we want you to be on the show,
Yeah.
because
most
I
definitely.
think you would be an anomaly. But you said a lot. Okay, so let's just kind of go back and unpack some things, because I'm gonna tell you what I first thought. You said I'm in the military, then you said I was 230 pounds. I'm like, how was you 230 pounds and you was in the
In the
military?
military.
So we all sit here going, okay, help us
Yeah.
first. And what branch of the military were you in? Can you give us a little bit of some
Yeah,
context there?
I was in the active duty army. I did 5 years. I
Okay.
actually did between two duty stations. I was at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then I had headed over to Germany. And I also had did one tour in Iraq, 15 months. So I'm actually an Iraq war veteran as well.
Oh wow.
Um, and I actually, when I was in the military, I struggled with my weight. I wasn't actually like 230 pounds. I actually didn't start to gain the weight until after I had got it out and out of the military. I had really lost a lot of sense of purpose, because I thought that the military was going to be my career for life, and things just didn't end how I wanted it to end, because the last year of service, I actually was on deployment. I actually was on stop loss. So a lot of things happened that transpired that it was just I just saw it wasn't going to end up being my lifelong career. So once I got out, it was very hard for me to navigate what was I going to do, because I essentially thought that the military was going to be my whole entire life. So I ended up staying around the military culture, working with like, the PX and the commissary. And then I had did some federal service as well, but I still didn't feel that sense of purpose anymore. So it really became detrimental. I used to just eat my feelings away. I had actually gotten to drugs really bad. So it was like a lot of things that, a lot of abuse that I was just happening in my life that I just didn't couldn't get out of. So it basically ended up showing in my weight, and it it was during the pandemic when I decided that I just couldn't take it anymore. I just really couldn't. It was like I was basically how the pandemic was. Everybody was just pretty much just it was just so hard, and I was actually living by myself. I was only just living with me and my dog, and it was so mentally just hard. And I also deal with PTSD like really, really bad. But it was like I had to figure out some way to gain my sense of life back. So I literally just started walking the pounds off. And it really helped me to just let go of a lot of things that I was just holding on to, and figuring out what was like just triggering me all the time, all the traumas, and really addressing it really fully. And that's where I started to lose the weight, and I started to become an avid hiker. I would literally travel across the states with me and my dog, and we would just find different trails and things to go to. And I just kept on going up from there. And then just really started to be around more people who were into like physical fitness and health and taking care of themselves. And then educating myself more on nutrition. And then becoming more of a coach to help to actually lead people. So that's how it kind of transpired for me to make that switch, because I was working like different 9 to 5 jobs here, but it was just not fulfilling my purpose in the sense that I wanted to happen for me. So, that's why I was like, okay, if somebody had just gave me like, an idea, why don't you like learn how to be an entrepreneur and learn how to have your own business for yourself? And I kind of just went off from there. I started from doing like Uber and Lyft and just having the freedom of my own schedule. And then I kind of just ended up running with it to now just really educating myself to eventually be a certified wellness coach. So I can actually have this as a business for myself and then teach others to do the same.
Trey Shawn, I have a question to ask.
Yes.
Let's go back a minute. And first, let me clarify something. This show is designed to educate and empower. So naturally, we're going to focus on some topics. But my question to you is, what made you decide to go to the military? Because you focused on the fact that there was a lot of uneasiness in your household, support-wise. When you start recognizing things that was happening to you, what made you decide to go to the military? Was it to kind of, figure out what was really going on?
Yeah, so like for me, when I was living in Baltimore, it started to get like really bad as far as like crime wise and things like that. And then as well, the support I was getting at home, because honestly, when I first had came out as lesbian first in my household, my parents actually thought I was crazy. So it was like this thing that it was just hard to get out of it. So my first year of college, when I had went to Morgan State, I started to do ROTC. So I actually started to get introduced to the military lifestyle. And then my father, he actually has done he had did over 30 years in the National Guard. So it really was like, okay, I saw him really had the career, and he also had the freedom and things like that. Only difference is I went active duty and he went National Guard. So he was more stateside. So it was like something conjoined with what his service had did for him, and then what I was introduced, with ROTC when I was in college, and then just like how things were just going really just bad, like in the state that I was living in, and I was just like, I need to do something different, because I was actually starting to get into drug dealing and like just bad influencing. So it was like I needed to get out of there quick. So I ended up talking to a recruiter, and he was like, we can get you out of here within 2 weeks. So I'm like, let's go. Because it was like,
how old were you?
College. So
18.
When you
straight
told
out
your
of
parents, you was 18 years old?
well, when I told them, sorry, I didn't hear the first question.
How old were you when you opened up to your parents about your sexual?
I was like a sophomore in high school. So yeah, I was like, it was my sophomore year in high school when I had said something. I had already knew like at an early age. But for me, when I was at early age, I had already felt uncomfortable in my body. I always wondered, why was I born like a female, because I always felt male, like always, like it didn't ever change. Like the thought, even when I was living as a lesbian, I was masculine presenting. So
let me ask a question. Now, bear with me, and I'll let the audience know. This is about educating. And in order for me to understand anything about the lifestyle, I need to be educated. And I appreciate you being here to educate not only me, but the public on that. You said something that was real crucial. And I've always wondered this. You said you knew a while back.
Early.
Explain that to the viewers and myself, how that even, you would know better than me. Please explain that to me.
Yeah, so like around 7, I had knew. And actually, I had attempted suicide at that age. I already didn't understand like why was I trapped in this body. I didn't understand. And it was just like how I physically saw everything and how society was. And I was like, I identify with being a male more. Like, I don't understand why you want to keep calling me a girl. Like, I just didn't understand it because I always felt different. Like, I felt like you should address me with, male pronouns. And it was confusing for me more or less because it was like I would look in the mirror and my brain would tell me something different.
Really?
So yeah, and it has helped me since I've started hormone replacement treatment, but still the what is called is gender dysphoria,
Right.
and
Mm.
and that's why a lot will end up having the surgeries and things like that, so you can actually physically see yourself how you think in your brain.
In your brain.
And
Okay.
yeah, and
Were there
that's where like
were there other individuals around that? You're 7 years old and you see something just isn't right. You
mhm.
really don't know who to really share this with and stuff. As you got older, did you notice that other individuals were feeling the same way you felt at that age? I mean, 7 years old. Wow, that's pretty young to start, feeling these things.
Yeah, and it was like something I just saw, like how I would view like television and stuff like that.
Right.
And you know how like sometimes you would just, you see representation on TV and it would just be so confusing to me because it would be like, of course, and I went to private school, so I had to wear like
The
dresses my
uniforms.
whole
Uniforms
entire
and stuff.
uniforms,
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was so confusing for me because it was like I want to wear the boys' uniforms. Like I don't understand like why am I in a dress?
You wasn't
And
trying to
my
play with dolls. You wanted
right.
trucks. Yeah, gotcha.
Exactly. Like
Gotcha.
it made no sense to me. And it
Yeah.
was always still forced upon, even because my mom's more the enforcer in the house. So it was still forced upon like my mom, like, you gotta have your hair done, like you gotta dress feminine, but it was always ended up into an argument. And I always felt like just so drained from it because it was like I was literally hiding my identity and how I felt, and it I didn't really I knew about like other lesbians. I didn't know nothing about transgender
Yes.
until probably like around 2017, 18, when I actually had an ex had seen a documentary or somebody else. And it's a little bit different when I was living in Germany because things kind of just it's a little bit more behind and how the information, like I wasn't always like on YouTube and doing the internet too much when I was in a service, so I didn't really know that it was really out there until my ex had introduced me. It was like this guy is very very similar to your story, you should check it out. And then when I started to watch it, and I was like,
Is it
wow,
the one
like
that's on net?
that's like exactly.
Is it the story that was on Netflix about the bodybuilder, the pharmaceutical guy who had the same problem? Can't think of the name of the Netflix series, but it was a documentary about sort of what you're talking about. He was a pharmacist. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't that one. I had saw this gentleman, he was on YouTube. And he used to have this magazine and stuff, and it was mainly like a lot of black like trans men and
wow.
people who were like into the ballroom scene, especially like the DMV area.
Mm.
So that's how like I had figured that, being open to that community. And once I had started watching his YouTube, and then I had ended up finding another, like the first military man I had actually found who had transitioned. He was in a service too. And then I was like, wow, like there's other people like this out here, like me. Like I just didn't, I just never seen it. Cause
Thought
I
you
never,
were alone and something was wrong with you for
mhm,
thinking the way you were thinking.
So what about the
So
golden
yeah.
islands though that he
well,
mentioned?
well, that was after he had got out of the service.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
so when you went into the service, then were you scared to let them know how you felt or that you were part of the LGBTQ community? So you just never said anything and identified as a woman through the service.
Yeah, it was so like closed off because during when I served, it was during the don't ask, don't tell. So
Right.
you weren't really allowed to, like, if you was a heterosexual couple, they're allowed to show affection, allowed to hold hands. If you're a lesbian couple or if you're a gay couple, that was not allowed. You're not supposed to show that. So
Don't
it was
show,
like,
don't tell. Yeah.
don't, right, exactly. So it was very hard, especially even like going through basic training, you know, and some, you know, the other females would know, but it was still like always like you had to hide who you was. And
Yeah.
everybody knew I was this masculine presenting and female. Like I always had the high and tight fade. Like I was always like just ready to go. You really couldn't tell the difference if I was a, you know, a female or male, because I presented so much that sometimes it was even confusing for them to understand that this is where I wanted to, you know, this is who I am. So it was just like, you know, and then of course, you know, people had their biases and their judgments, so they would treat you a lot different because they
Yeah.
would know,
Yeah.
and you could tell if they were treating you a little bit different, because towards the end, and there was a couple others who were in the LGBT community, and towards the end, when I had we had left for deployment, I ended up being like the only one that was out that was LGBTQ, and the two others, they had, for some reason, they weren't there. So it was just like you could tell that they were kind of just almost cornering you to a point that, you know, they knew how your lifestyle was, and they were going to treat you different, and that's how
Making
they
it
treated.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Making it
very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it became
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. And during my deployment, I ended up getting sexually assaulted. And it was just like I always had like the bad harassment, like, oh, I can change you, like you ain't never had, you know, what in your life.
Exactly.
Like it would
Exactly.
be so
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
I would say something, and people would just blow it off. I would even tell my dad like how I was going through these things, and he would just blow it off too. So it really made me really feel like so alone in the
Yeah.
process. And I'm like, oh, so is this how the military is? So that's why I pretty much at the end I was just like,
I'm out.
forget it.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm out.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna treat me like
Yeah.
this.
But Trey,
I don't
did
wanna-
if there was other individuals in the service, then you guys have some type of support, like counselors or
Don't ask, don't tell. What part of that don't you understand?
yeah, but I
We're
mean,
not going to address it.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
exist. It doesn't exist.
Right. And
okay.
I had counseling in the beginning, and this is something that's always been a stigma around the military, is about getting mental health as well. And I had mental health when I was at Fort Knox, and once I had got to Germany, it changed. It changed to a point where they didn't really feel like you had enough time to do that type of stuff.
Mhm.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So like, because even when I had ended up injuring myself, and I ended up in I do believe I've had 2 TBIs that were undocumented, and these are some of the things that go on. They just don't document. They don't want to document it properly because they're just not the people. Some people just don't want to do their job. They see you who, you know, for who you are, and they just don't want to do the lineage because it's too much work, even though it's your job. And I know I started to experience that a lot when I was in Germany, where they, you know, I ended up hitting my head. They didn't want to take me to the emergency room, make sure that, you know, if I had a concussion and things like that. A lot of things just get brushed under the rug because it's just about suck it up and drive on, drink some water. Here's some ibuprofen, get up and get back out
And
there.
get it moving. Yeah. So
Yep.
let's fast forward, because I know we've spent quite a bit of time on this and there's so much more to you. So I think that, you know, one of the things I would be interested in knowing is, but you've overcome a lot. Do you feel supported today? And what was the sort of turning point for you where you became confident, had the courage to say, I'm going to stand in my truth? Whether, I mean, and that's from the weight loss, because all of this then becomes a effect, you know, a snowball effect. One affects the other, the PTSD, the weight gain, the weight loss. So you've come a long way. And what I see today is someone who is confident, who
Strong.
strong, has courage. So let's talk about that, because that where you were, that was what had happened, but where you've evolved to is such a more powerful person. And that story is even more inspiring for people to know that you don't have to stay where you were. So
Yes, yes.
so how would you address that?
So for me, I think the turning point for me really was when I had started to get into the academy. And then it started to really give me the support that I needed. And it really opened up doors for me where I could really just be myself. And I think probably like the biggest turning point was when I ended up talking at the Tallahassee about the transgender rights. And that right there showed me how powerful I could be and how much I belong being here. And it really transpired to you know, me to a place that I really did belong. And there was others out here and that we are a human race. We're all fighting for our rights here. And I think that's when I really, really found my voice. When I started to be around the communities that were really supportive and understanding and that were just like me. And that's where I really started to see, to see things transpire and really just see my light.
That's powerful. That is powerful.
Trey Smith, I got a question. I was
Trey Shawn.
Trey Shawn.
I'm Smith. I told you he's my brother from another mother, but dang, you changed your name.
I was sharing with some friends of mine that you was going to be on the show, and they was excited, and because I need to be educated on a lot of this stuff. My question is, how do you feel? You now in Florida, and Florida is not real supportive of the movement. Hopefully you will change that. But how does that affect you, knowing that you're in this state, you love Florida, and they're not proactive with the movement?
Oh man, it has been a fight. It really has been. And it really is hard too because I don't really have the support in my household. I actually live with my parents right now. So it's even harder. So like I'm literally fighting with the state and then fighting with my own people that I'm actually living in.
So
So
they haven't come around yet after all this time.
They are still, yeah, it's so contradictory because you know how they say I say that love is an action. You can tell me that you love me all day, but are you really doing it? You know what I'm saying? And it was funny because me and my mom were literally just having an argument before you left. And I was like, I need the door closed because I'm have a podcast. And we literally got into a whole argument about things. And it's just seeing those things. It's just like, you're not supporting the movement that I'm doing right now for myself to support myself. And it's always an argument when it comes to things. So like living in the state is even harder. Like I've had to, I used to have like equality stickers on my car and I've taken them off just to not feel like a target. And then like I know certain people they want to wave the rainbow flag and the trans flag, but I just don't want to. I don't want to feel like a target. I don't want to stand out like that. Yes, I can stand as a trans man and you get to know me, but I don't want you to know me just by, just that flag and things like that. So I really do it in a way where I just help people to understand that I'm a person. I'm a human being. I'm here to be here. And it's hard too because every day when I make my walk, there's somebody who has a DeSantis flag, like and he's a veteran too. So we say hi to each other. He probably has no idea. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of am more of an like you say, I'm more of like a ninja. I stay very just very, very low key. So it's hard. I don't watch TV. I don't watch any of that mess. I think it's just nothing but a clown show to me. I don't watch it.
Yeah.
And I really just stay out of it and I just stay more focused on to what I need to do in my journey. And me realizing like, when I did, have the when I did go and speak when I was in Tallahassee was to stay more in movements like that, to help the younger youth, to help them fight. Because I feel as though that I can help them more, to support them more from the back end than I can during being as the face so much. So that's where I support more because this younger generation, they know who they are, and I know it's still a journey for me. And I'm so happy that the younger generation is out here really speaking their voice. So I really stand as more as a veteran in the community and just go out there and fight for your right and really be out there. I'm here to support you. And I'm so proud of them. you know, and yeah, it has been, and it has been many times, like people has telling me like, why don't you come back to, because I was living in Pennsylvania before I moved here. It's like, why don't you come back to Pennsylvania? We can help you to move out of Florida. And I've thought about it quite a few times because, you know, also just living in a household that's very toxic, but at the same time, it's very hard. I live 15 minutes away from the beach. Like life has literally
You
changed,
don't want to
you
leave
know,
the beach.
You gonna pick your
life has,
battles.
right.
That's
So
called
life
picking
has,
your.
yeah. So yeah, like it's been a hard like decision to make, whether or not that, what kind of sacrifices do I want to make, to really make sure that I have my mental, like, so not so overload with what's really going on. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that's just, it's just so hard to get out of, because I know just by being here I can make a change just within the VA system, because every VA system I have been to, I have made a change as just being a representation of being here. And
Yes.
then just without in the community, I have been able to, just be a representation. So it's like one of those things, like if I leave, I'm kind of like backing down on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
If I stay, it's going to be a hard fight, but at the end of the day, it will be the truth of the hard fight, and really show the testimony, and the overcoming the things even when the war is going on. That's how I
That's
think,
perfect. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a perfect way.
What's the
Well,
one
we're
thing?
we're out of time
Are we?
at
Can
this.
I ask?
Yeah, you can ask.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
I'm excited right now. So my question is, if you had to change one thing in Florida right now, because you trust me, if I'm by the beach, I'm trying to stay by the beach.
Well, I
Yeah.
like the beach.
So if there's one thing that you can tell to the people in Florida right now, one thing to change to help them understand you as a person, you as an individual, and I'm overwhelmed that you decided to share this story on our show. It definitely educated me a lot. My hat's off to you, and I support your journey. But if there's one thing that you had to do right now to make an impact with Florida and the world, what would it be?
Or someone else
Or someone that's
through.
going through this. What would you do? What would you tell them?
What would you say?
Oh wow.
That's a
Find your
big one, ain't
support.
it?
Yeah, it is. It's literally find your support system and understand that they are there for you and open up to them. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest and most crucial thing throughout your journey. If you're having a hard time understanding who you are, is finding your support system and really staying close and not being afraid, and just be vulnerable. Because I know my life has changed every time I've been so vulnerable in my community, because it started out with my veteran community. I started first coming out as trans within my veteran community. And then I ended up doing it out, within the civilian community. So as long as you find those support systems, and it's just talk about it, find someone safe to talk to. And there's so many resources online if you don't have someone to physically talk to. So finding those resources in line. I mean, if you have to go as far as calling the suicide hotline, I mean, I used to use the suicide hotline all the time when I didn't have anybody to talk to. And every time they helped me, every time. Now it's the 988 number. So use that number and it will find you the resources, whether you're in the LGBT community, whether you're dealing with PTSD, anxiety, depression. It is out there. All the resources are out there for you. So just utilize your resources and just be yourself, and find your voice, and you can do it. And I I'd be so happy, like, just to make sure that these resources are out there for everyone, and just to know that yes, you can step out and be yourself, be that unicorn.
That is an excellent, excellent, excellent way to wrap up this session of the Andre the Beast Crayton show. Trey Shawn, I am so delighted to have you. You know what? Your journey is far from over, and I'm going to tell you, we will have you back on this
I
show.
was just going to say
I
that.
know. I would love
I'll
to
be
see
more than welcome.
yeah, how you continue to evolve this, because we know that it's definitely not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's definitely not a moment, it's a movement. And so with that, our sensei tells us how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so
For
at
sure.
the end of the day, continue being true to yourself. And I think that this show today surely has enlightened a lot of people.
I'm just like overwhelmed.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
especially
definitely.
with the knowledge and the information that you brought to not only me, but to the viewers. Viewers, once again, please subscribe,
Like and share.
reach out to this young man.
Use those resources that you
help
have,
him, and
to help yourself, to help others. Because at the end of the day, your mental wellness, this is about mental wellness. No matter what you go through, it's really about that mental wellness and how you can keep yourself aligned in a way that allows you to thrive in this lifetime. This has been another episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.